Well, good day, everyone. Welcome back to the S.H.O.P, the Social Hub of Positivity in Emery Gate in Chippenham. What a wonderful thing's happening. A lot of organic growth, not like mildew and stuff. I mean, well, there's probably a bit of that as well, to be fair. But we have a very wonderful person, an artist, actually much more than an artist, but I'm going to let him explain that to you. This is the wonderful Terry Buchanan, everyone. Terry, how are you doing?
Oh, fine, thank you. Plodding along, as they say. But when you've got a few decades behind you, yeah.
Anything? What have you experienced like the pandemic? Anything? Give us a sort of broad history of some of the stuff you've endured.
Well, because of my age, I had kind of the inoculations early.
Yeah.
But we've been kind of ultra protective of ourselves and other people where we can.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to do that. You've got to consider other people as well as yourself.
Yeah.
So.
But in your history, and I know Terry because he's an artist who has got a broad range of art. It's not just this wonderful painting here and others that we're exhibiting at the S.H.O.P, the Social Hub of Positivity. It's photography. But can you tell everyone some of your history? Because I found it intriguing.
Well, I was a war child. We were living in London at the beginning of the war, and I was just a baby. The house was bombed, and all we had was the things myself and my mother were wearing at the time. We self-evacuated to a place called Canvey Island, and that's where I spent the war. And it was strange really for a young boy growing up, kind of say age of 5. When the alarm went for the air raid, I would come out and I would look up to the sky as we went across the field to the shelter, and the sky was black with bombers. And then another time, I stood in the garden and I saw the bombers going over for the invasion, towing the gliders. So they were going over. That was kind
D-Day.
of what we were doing. That was D-Day.
Yeah.
So to witness those things as a young child, those things stick in your mind. And the other thing I saw was crashing airplanes with dogfights. And these things are part of you, and they're in your mind, and they're memories. They may not be good memories, but they're still there as memories. And then from there we moved back up to London to be near to family. My dad worked in the London docks as a ship repairer. Now, a lot of American ships came over. They were convoy ships, and they could say to my dad, "Hey, boy, you got a young kid, ain't you?" And they would give me these American clothes. So I was wearing American clothes, the blue and white boots before they came over, the jackets and things like this.
Yeah.
And I was like an American boy in London, So that was the way it went. And then, because after that we moved around a bit more, And when I was at school, I was keen on acting and drama, and I won prize for that. And our English master said, "I want you to go to RADA to do acting, like a former pupil of mine." And the former pupil was Brian Forbes.
Wow.
But I didn't do that. I was also offered university, but I didn't do that either because I'd been offered the job to be an architect. And then I wanted to be like my granddad, who'd been in the First World War, and my uncle had been in the Second. I wanted to do my national service. And I was called up, and I was given the choice of careers for that period of 2 years, either bomb disposal or photography. So I chose photography because I thought my mum won't want me messing about with bombs.
Strange.
So I went out to Cyprus, and it was absolutely fascinating. For someone coming from the East End of London to see the way people were there, you couldn't imagine it. I saw my first mountain, but to
Kudos, is it?
Yeah, but to see ladies digging the road, and to see the poverty that was there,
Yeah.
I thought we were poor, but those people were extremely poor, And so it went on. Then when I came out, I mixed with all the top photojournalists in the world, like Larry Burrows and people like this. And then when I came out of the army, I got photographic qualifications, and from there I went in to photography as a professional, and I was eventually got a job with Her Majesty's Royal Commission on the Historical Monuments of England, and I eventually became its chief photographer. But I still maintained my own photography, which was street photography, to illustrate articles, and so I would go to the markets, I would go to places where people were my photography wasn't about landscapes or sunsets or anything like that. It was about people, and that's what I did. And, that was the kind of took me on to the end of my career of being a chief photographer.
What would be one of your big memories, or in certain fields that there would be accomplishments that people would say, "Oh, I won an Oscar," or "I did this," or "I worked with this actor," or "I helped design this building"? Or what, as a photographer, what would you say that was satisfying?
Yeah, I've had 2 books published. One on photographing historic buildings
and your poetry.
And another one. I was up in North Yorkshire, and I found this map on the moors, just blowing about. And I took it back to the office, and someone said, "We know who that belongs to. That belongs to a chap who lives up on the moors." So his name is Raymond Hayes. So I went up, and as I went up to the door of his kind of it was a little shack really, there was this corrugated iron building by the side with a north light in. And I thought, that looks like an artist's place. So I knocked on the door, and this gentleman, about 80-something, came, and I said, "I found this," and they say, "It was yours. It's this plan with all these archaeological markings on." He said, "That's one." I said, "That looks interesting. Is that an artist studio?" He said, it was my father's, William Hayes. Would you like to look inside?" I went inside. His father was an early photographer, and he had touched nothing. Raymond had touched nothing since his father had died. Wow. So everything there, photographically, everything was there. And it was amazing, And he said, "Would you like to see some of his photography, his negatives?" I said, "Oh, yes, please." He climbed up the ladder, went into the loft, and brought down all these glass plate negatives covered in dust and flies and all sorts. He brought them down. I went through them, and I thought, well, there's more than an article here. There's a book. And he said, "Would you like to see his diaries?" He showed me his diaries, and a book came out of that.
Wow.
But the thing was, the beauty of it was, there was a local museum, and they, having seen it, the studio was going to be destroyed, but they moved it to the museum, and it's still there to this day at Hutterley Hole in Yorkshire.
Wow, that's fantastic.
That's something I really felt good about.
And that came all about because you found a map.
I found a map on the moors, and everything came like that.
Imagine. So a bit of intrigue, a bit of research, and presumably you wanted to give the map back to someone. That's a bit of social justice.
I've always done that. I mean, now
kindness.
When I go to car boot sales, if I see any negatives or photographs, I buy them in the hope that I will find who they might belong to. And I've got boxes of these things at home,
Wow.
And I try everything. I write to magazines, and I look up the name to try and put these photographs, which are important historical documents of a family, to give those back to a member of the family. Yeah. But it's such an impossible thing. I mean, I got onto the people at Kew and said, "This would be a brilliant exhibition if you exhibited these photographs of lost families, That you could see.
What do you do here? What do you do in the shop?
Would someone know someone there and say, "Yeah, that's it"?
But why don't we do a special exhibition of those things in the shop? Yeah, and just say the lost families, and I agree with you. Yeah. Sometimes we look at historical happenings, if they're captured, and you see the drama or whatever unfold. It could be an FA Cup final, doesn't matter. It's one of them was go right historical, but actually there's Martin Parks, one of those beautiful photographers that does not the mundane but the everyday.
Yeah.
And I think without the celebrity, we've been cursed in a lot of ways by the alchemy that apparently is. Yeah. Making someone a celebrity, so much so that they can have no emotional connection with life, let alone their families and friends. But the idea that each person is significant. Now, when I say significant, I don't mean, look, they're the king or they're the queen or she's this or that. It's not that. They're significant because, like you said, they're connected to other people, and it's an emotional connection, and therefore it has an emotional value. Yeah. So therefore, actually, let's celebrate the anonymity of these families. What do you think?
Photography is something that kind of emanates emotion. When I look at old photographs taken in the 1920s or even before, I look at a young child and I think, what did that child grow up to be? I feel it in here, sort of thing. I do
that when I stand in front of paintings as well, like Van Gogh. If I'm standing in front of his particularly, I slightly go mental.
Yeah. Well, I've studied Arles because Arles was a big photographic centre, and I used to get invited there.
Yes,
I used to get invited there each year. used to get invited to the Paris photo thing, but I used to get invited to Arles, where the exhibition is wrong there. And of course, Van Gogh is is the place where he lived was there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, and it,
Did loads of his landscapes, didn't he?
yeah.
The cypress trees, all the. I think. I don't know. Was it Starry Night done there?
Yeah, and you can,
Yeah.
the wonderful thing about it is you can see his paintings, and you can actually stand in the spot where he did the painting from.
I've always wanted to do that.
You think.
I love that.
Yeah, you think. I know that painting. You know, and that's it. You know, I'll stand here. That's where he stood.
I love it. It resonates now. I haven't even done it, and I'm thinking, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
I love it when I'm in front of his paintings.
Yeah.
As it happens, we're actually in front of one of your paintings. Now I know that the ladies here were actually intrigued, and they. Harriet, you quite like it, don't you?
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
It reminds me of old consoles I used to play on.
Wow, yeah, I get it. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for that then? Because I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
the shapes.
Well, I'm eclectic, right? So I will paint kind of normal visual photographic type things.
Yeah.
I will paint those, and I will paint abstracts. You know, and it's just it shapes. When I first left school, I was going to be an architect.
Yeah, you said.
And I worked on the drawing board, and so lines fascinate me, and that's what comes to this. I do the lines, and then I infill them with colour.
Yeah.
So it's in a way, it's architectural to me.
Yeah, I get it. Now we've got a collection of your photographs, as in the stuff that you brought in here. So we're going to put that in as soon as we'll do a close up of that. We'll do some stuff with your poetry. You've got those beautiful bits that you've given us. We're going to do a specific exhibition of yours. So we're just sort of teasing people with this interview, that painting, which won't be here. So if you haven't seen this painting, you might see it back at the exhibition. But this gentleman here has had an intrigue. I've had the luxury. That's the great thing about the shop. I get all sorts of brilliant people coming in, talking, sometimes about problems and about mental health. Of course, that goes with the territory. Dorothy Perkins, yes, I was going to say she's the thermometer. She's not. She's a therapist. What? Dorothy Perkins? Not that Dorothy Perkins. Dorothy Perkins, the therapist. Oh, please, Rebecca.
But I might replace this with another one that I've just done during lockdown.
Yeah.
And it's the dream catcher.
Oh, wow.
Now, when I was at school, I was fascinated by the North American Indians. Exactly.
See that? When I designed that, we took a group of kids in care and other young people from Chippenham to the North American reservations.
Yeah, and the other people were the African tribes. The Watusi really fascinated me. I mean, the way they dressed, and you know, there are people here. I mean, people they need to be themselves. They need to show their personality. If you want to dress in a certain way, do it. You know, it's important to do that. You know.
Yeah, I agree.
Be yourself.
Actually, these two are quite cool, aren't they? Look.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously not, but what can I tell you? I'll tell you nothing. Why do I have to tell you anything?
Well, I dress the way an old boy should actually dress.
You actually dress. You always. I know because I know you're a poet, you're a photographer, you're an artist. So I see you as that. But you look like that to me. So every time that's Terry. He's the artist, which is fantastic. If you had any advice to give, and these two young people here are at the wonderful Wiltshire College in Chippenham doing the media course. You've been through lots of things and you've travelled the world doing what you love doing. What would be your advice to young people now coming out in the media or coming in as artists?
Well, first of all, I'll say that my granddaughter, one of my granddaughters, was very interested in photographing animals. She's into animals very much, you know, and she took all these beautiful photographs. They were on display in Chippenham, and then the stand that I'd constructed on which to display them was taken over by the college. So somewhere in the college is that stand, which you can put your photographs on, you know.
Wow.
But I would say that every day, millions of people photograph the sunrise and the sunset. You know, that's pictorial. You want to look at other things. You want to look at people or things that move, things that are living, you know. Because, I mean, as I say, you could see a million sunsets and you think they're all the same. It does the same thing every day. So that pictorial thing, I'm into people, not pictorial. So, you know, I would say find out what really interests you and then start photographing that. You know, I set up a project to photograph contemporary artist studios. Now, when you look at the artist studios from the early period, the Victorian period, the artist is posing in front of their work like this, you know, and all the painters set up. It's all set up. It's all elaborate, you know. And my idea, and I wrote a prospectus to do this, was to photograph the studio as a working environment. And so I went to artists like Bridget Riley, kind of Howard Hodgkin, and people like that. I said, would you be willing? And they said yes. And I said, well, what I want you to do is at the end of your day's work, just walk away. I will touch nothing. And I went in, the cup of empty cup that there's had the tea in was there. Everything was as they left it, and I photographed that as their working environment.
Yeah, that's special, man.
So it wasn't
Snapshot
set up
of their day.
It wasn't posed. It was what they did.
Yeah,
you know.
Intriguing.
The other thing is you've got to be proactive in a way. You've got to. I wanted to have an exhibition of all the architectural work that my people did in the unit that I was responsible for. I went to. I thought, now where can I do it? And I went to various places. One was kind of an artist studio, you know, a Victorian artist studio, and I went in and said, could I have an exhibition of work, you know? And they said, yes, you can do that, you know. So you've got to go and think, what could I do there?
Yeah.
Where could I exhibit? You know.
To communicate and actually be brave enough to ask the question.
You mustn't hold back, you know.
Yeah.
And the other thing I did in Chippenham was when the former arts officer was there, Naina Patel, we had a kind of a meeting, and I said that what we need to do is to get some photographers to actually photograph the retail business in Chippenham. And so we put it in the local newspaper, people came forward, we spoke to them, and then I mentored them, and because they were young and a bit shy about things, I went into a shop and said, can these people come and photograph what you do? And they did that. We processed the material. They had a big exhibition. They had a certificate, which was the first item on their CV, obviously. They had a big exhibition in what was then the art gallery, and that was good. And I know that one of those people then went to work for a top professional photographer and travelled the world and made lots of money. So, you know, you've got to be proactive. You've got to be proactive.
Well, actually, to be fair, these two wonderful people are, as I said, are at the media course in Chippenham. So that they're out working, and we, as you know, do loads of stuff. So they're in the right in Chippenham.
You're in the right spot, yeah.
Absolutely. There's loads of different diverse work. We're also going to be doing some ongoing consultation about funding and about provision for young people all throughout Chippenham, particularly through the pandemic, about how things were funded previously, how they need to change, how things are funded moving forward. Anyway, this is a wonderful person. Come down to the S.H.O.P and see his work. We're going to have a little exhibition quite soon, so look out for it. Ladies and gentlemen, Terry Buchanan, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, ladies.
Thank you.